Good day everyone. Another engineering material that could be considered significant in designs, specifically in the field of engineering, are the polymers. And this is topic 6. Polymer literally means many parts. A polymer is not a specific thing. A polymer is anything, usually a molecule or a material, made of smaller repeating bits. This repeating bit is called a monomer. Polymers are large molecules formed by linking together smaller repeating units called monomers. Many people think of plastics when they hear the word polymer. Polymers could be either synthetic or natural, like the DNA. Proteins that make up our hair and muscles. Cellulose that gives plants their sturdy structure. The DNA, proteins, and cellulose are natural examples of polymers. Like all molecules, polymers can have different shapes and sizes. The properties of a polymeric material will depend on which atoms and molecules it contains and how they are connected. Some polymers are rigid and strong, while others are flexible. Researchers are constantly looking for new ways to create even better polymers with useful properties. Some scientists study spiders for clues because their silk polymers are famously strong and flexible. Others are working on ways to control polymer assembly. This will allow them to create new kinds of material. New materials that are easy to recycle. New materials that can fix themselves after their damage. New materials that can even respond when exposed to light or electricity. From muscle fibers to plastics. Polymers are useful materials that we rely on every day. Understanding to build them from different types of monomers will allow researchers to design and build a more flexible future. What are polymers and their classification? Molecular compounds whose molecules have high molecular masses and are composed of a large number of repeating units of identical structures which are known as monomers. Polythene is an example of a polymer which consists of a large number of ethene molecules. Polymers can be naturally occurring. Polymers also can be manufactured synthetically. Polymers can have proteins, starches, and cellulose, which are naturally occurring polymers. Plastics produced commercially at a very large scale and have wide range of properties and uses are known as synthetic polymers. What are the parameters for classification of polymers? Polymers can be classified on the basis of their chemical structure, polymeric structure, arrangement of monomers, tacticity, thermal behavior, molecular forces, and the methods of their synthesis. For the chemical structure, we have homopolymer. They consist of identical monomers. Copolymer will be a mixture of more than one type of monomer. Polymers can have a polymeric structure called linear. They consist of a long string of monomers attached in a linear manner. The branched polymeric structure consists of branches at irregular intervals along the polymer chain. The cross-link polymeric structure consists of short side chains that connect different polymer chains into a network. For the arrangement of monomers, we can have block polymers. They consist of relatively long sequences of identical monomeric units, while graph polymers are branch polymers whose backbone is formed from one type of monomer and branches are formed of other type. Tacticity can have isotactic polymer, whose side groups of the monomers lie on the same side of the chain. Syngiotactic polymer, side groups of polymer are arranged in an alternate manner. The atactic polymer, the side groups are arranged in an irregular or random manner around the main chain. Tacticity is the orientation of monomer units in a polymer molecule with respect to the main chain. For thermal behavior, thermoplastic are polymers which are easily softened upon heating, while thermosets are polymers which change irreversibly into hard and rigid materials on heating and cannot be reshaped. Polythene will be an example of thermoplastic polymers. We also can have polystyrene or styrofoam. For thermosets, we can have the bakelite. Examples of bakelite are the billiard balls. We also can have melamine formaldehyde. For the molecular forces, we can have elastomers. These are polymers that can be easily stretched by applying small stress. We also have fibers. These are polymers which have strong intermolecular forces like hydrogen bonds or dipole-dipole interactions between the polymer chains. Natural rubber will be examples of elastomers. Nylon 6,6 will be example of fibers, including the dacron. For the methods of synthesis, we can have addition polymers and condensation polymers. For addition polymers, it is constructed of one type of monomer, and this is an unsaturated type of molecule, and it is usually an alkene. Because of this, additional polymers are often referred to as polyalkenes. The polymers is formed when the double bonds in the monomer units break and the units join together. Long chain-like molecules are formed. Suitable conditions of temperature, pressure, and catalyst are required for this process to take place. For condensation polymers, condensation is a process in which two monomers react to form a larger molecule and eliminate a smaller molecule, usually water, ammonia, methanol, or hydrogen chloride. Examples of condensation polymers will be Kevlar, nylon, and terylene. Let us review about polymer. A polymer is a macromolecule. A polymer is a large molecule made of repeating monomer subunits. We can think of monomers as beads. They can be linked together to form a necklace. The necklace will represent the polymer. This is a potato plant. It stands upright without any support. This is due to a polymer known as cellulose. The cellulose is a polysaccharide. Polysaccharides are polymers of D-glucose. Important polysaccharides examples will be starch, glycogen, cellulose, and chitin. A polymer is made of many repeating sugars are called glucose subunits. The glucose subunits are layered together and it makes an even stronger structure. More layered glucose subunits make the plant cell wall. That is why the potato plant can stand upright. Starch is a combination of amylose and amylopectin. Amylose is a glucose monomer and it has helical structure. Amylopectin is also a glucose monomer, but it has branches of glucose chains. The Benguet pine tree is very rigid and strong. The reason why trees are rigid is because of the cellulose, and other fibers are held together strongly by another natural polymer. This natural polymer is called lignin. Where do we get paper from? Paper is from wood. And wood comes from trees. Paper is made from cellulose fibers. If you tear a piece of paper and look closely, you will see those fibers. When paper is made, lignin must be separated from the cellulose. This process of separating the lignin from the cellulose is called pulping. If lignin is not separated, we cannot fold or crumple paper. Let us ask ourselves, what exactly makes what we are? The DNA, the oxyribonucleic acid. The DNA is a polymer of nucleotides. Each nucleotide is made of sugar, nitrogenous base, and two or more phosphate groups. The DNA is the genetic blueprint of what we are. There are 4 nucleic acids that form our DNA. We have thymine, cytosine, guanine, and adenine. The possibilities of arranging these monomers are virtually endless. A section of DNA that codes for a protein is known as the genes. Our genes determine whether we have black hair, brown eyes, big ears, and other characteristics. Genes make all the enzymes needed to carry out the reaction in our bodies. Proteins are monomers made from amino acid monomers. There are endless types of proteins, each with a unique structure and function. Breathing oxygen is transported through the blood by a protein called hemoglobin. As we inhale, our chest rises. This is made possible by our chest muscles. The muscles are a collection of muscle cells. The muscles are rich in protein filaments. The flexible part of the ear is cartilage, which is also a type of protein. The cartilage is also found in joints. The cartilage makes it possible for us to move our arms and legs. If you look at the tip of your nose, it is also made of cartilage. Collagen is a fibrous protein, responsible for maintaining the firmness of the skin. As time progresses, the collagen loses elasticity. When this happens, grooves in the skin forms, known as wrinkles. Hair and nails are made of keratin, another type of protein. Keratin is not exclusive to humans. Keratin is also found in turtle shells. Keratin could also be found in cat claws. And also, they could be found in bird feathers. Moving on to other animals, silkworms can produce their own silk protein to make their cocoon. Silk manufacturing through silkworms are still done in large scale in some countries. Many organizations find this unethical as the larvae inside the cocoon are killed during this process. The exoskeleton of crustaceans, such as crabs, are formed from chitin. Chitin is N-acetylglucosamine monomer subunits. Chitin is also found in the walls of fungi like mushrooms. Natural rubber is a polymer of isoprene monomer subunits. Isoprene is found in latex. Latex also has isoprene monomer subunits. Latex is a white, milky substance that is tapped from a para-rubber tree. This is used to make latex gloves, latex erasers, latex elastic bands, latex adhesives, latex balloons. The rubber in car tires will be vulcanized. Vulcanized means sulfur. Sulfur has been added. Vulcanization is the process by which liquid latex is hardened into rubber through the use of sulfur compounds and sulfur. Sulfur is added to introduce cross-linking between the polymers to strengthen the structure. There are many natural polymers. Each of these natural polymers has its own specific structure and function. What are synthetic polymers? Unlike natural polymers, synthetic polymers are made by humans and factories instead of within a living organism. Let us review the examples for natural and synthetic polymers. Natural polymers can be cellulose, starch, lignin, DNA, protein, silk, chitin, and latex. Examples of synthetic polymers could be plastics, nylon, Teflon, PVA glue, superglue, Dacron, Kevlar, and Bakelite. You had heard about plastics. This is a broad term encompassing a wide range of polymers. Plastics could be polythene, polypropylene, PVC, PTFE, polystyrene, PVA, PET, polylactide, and polyglycolide. These polymers are made from monomers. Monomers like ethene, propene, vinyl chloride, tetrafluoroethene, styrene, vinyl acetate, ethylene terephthalate, lactic acid and lactide, and glycolic acid. Monomers are derived from crude oil. Crude oil is a non-renewable resource. We cannot grow crude oil. If it can't be grown, it has to be mined. The fraction obtained from the fractional distillation of crude oil can be cracked to form alkenes, some of which are the monomers of these synthetic polymers. Polyethylene, for example, also known as polyethylene, is a polymer of ethene monomers. These polyethylene monomers can be high or low density depending on the degree of branching present. The term branch refers to smaller chains sticking out of the main chain. Polypropene or polypropylene is a polymer of propene monomers. Polyvinyl chloride or PVC is a polymer of chloroethene or vinyl chloride monomers. Polytetrafluoroethylene, can you predict the monomer? You're right. The monomer is tetrafluoroethylene monomer. Polystyrene will be having styrene monomer. These are examples of polystyrene. Its common name is the styrofoam. Polystyrene, also known as styrofoams, are used in food packaging and food shipping to protect the contents from being damaged. Polyvinyl acetate, known as PVA, will be having vinyl acetate as monomers. Examples are found in glues. Polyvinyl acetate is found also in envelopes. Ethyl cyanoacrylic is stronger than the PVA. It is a very strong adhesive. Ethyl cyanoacrylic superglue will be stronger than PVA. Soft drink bottles are polyethylene terephthalate, known as PET, with a code of 1. This symbol means we can recycle polyethylene terephthalate, knowing that it is PET. PET can be broken apart into its monomers and can be polymerized once again. Terephthalic acid and ethylene glycol monomers. Recycling is important because it reduces the plastics in landfills. Imagine if all these synthetic polymers cannot be recycled, like the soft drink bottles, plastic containers, packaging materials. All of this will accumulate and our planet Earth will be filled with plastics. With the global population expanding at an exponential rate without a good recycling scheme, this could become a very serious global environmental issue. An increasingly important synthetic polymer is the PLA, known as the polylactic acid. The PLA is used to make plastic cups and other packaging materials. PLA can be obtained from the bacterial fermentation of carbohydrates. The sugar used for fermentation to produce PLA can come from corn or sugarcane. Corn and sugarcane are renewable resources because they can be grown again and again and again. If you exercise for an extended amount of time, your muscles begin to cramp. This system leads to the production of PLA due to insufficient oxygen in your muscle cells. Besides being derived from a renewable resource, the polylactic acid or PLA is a biodegradable material. PLA can break down naturally. PLA is used in the medical field as degradable stitches. You don't have to go back to the hospital because PLA stitches biodegrade over time. Another synthetic polymer with real-life application is polyglycolic acid. Polyester, as the name suggests, is made up of monomers joined together with ester groups. Polyesters are made from diols and dicarboxylic acids. Polyesters can also be formed by a condensation reaction between hydroxycarboxylic acid monomers. Hydroxycarboxylic acids have a carboxylic acid end and an alcohol end. Polyamides have amide groups joining monomers. They mainly are formed from diamine and dicarboxylic acid monomers. Polyamides can also be formed from aminocarboxylic acids. An aminocarboxylic acid has an amine end and a carboxylic acid end. When you chemically alter a polymer to encourage primary and secondary interactions between chains of polymer, you increase its rigidity. There are several types of forces that act between polymer chains. Dispersion forces act in polymers with non-polar side groups and main chain links. As the length of the chain increases, the strength of the dispersion forces increases. Polyethylene is a good example of a polymer that is non-polar and therefore has dispersion forces operating between the chains. Polymers held together by only dispersion forces are soft, flexible, and non-elastic. They do not regain their original shape when stretched or deformed. They have low melting or softening points and can be reformed and reshaped repeatedly. This makes them suitable for recycling. Hydrogen bonds form in polymers that have OH, NH, or CO groups present in side groups or link groups. Polymers with hydrogen bonds are stronger, more rigid, and more elastic. Covalent bonds that exist between polymer chains are called crosslinks. Cross-link polymers behave like chain polymers but have greater rigidity, elasticity, hardness, and durability. There are basically two types of polymers: thermoplastic and thermoset polymers. Thermoplastics melt to a liquid when heated, and they can be molded when you do this into certain shapes. Many addition polymers are thermoplastic, like the polyethylene. Thermoplastics can be molded several times. This makes them much easier to recycle than thermoset polymers, since they can be melted down and remolded. Thermoset polymers are polymers that cure into a stronger form with the addition of energy. The curing process essentially adds cross-links to the polymer chain. Once set, the thermoset polymer cannot be remelted and remolded, unlike thermoplastic polymers. This means that they are much harder to recycle. Examples are rubber and epoxy resins. Imagine one day if we throw a food container in a garden and find out that it has decomposed in a few days. Imagine that we can recycle plastic bottles in our own home. The possibilities are always endless. What a happy and a sustainable planet there would be. In summary, many synthetic polymers with many real-life applications increase interest in recyclable and biodegradable synthetic polymers.